Hello folks, and welcome to Two Riders. Today I want to show you how to make a really great hat, almost perfect. This is a classic. It's been around for probably over a century. It's called a Jones cap or a Jones hat. It looks a little bit like a fedora. It has if you can look at the fabric here, this is a stiff brim, which is a little shorter than like on a ball cap or a trucker's hat. But it's enough of a brim, normally keep the sun out of your eyes, especially in the cooler months. I'm going to use this as a hunting hat. It's great all around outdoor hat too. Now, this one is heavy brown, what they call duck cotton canvas. And it's nice because of a few different things. Number one, you got a brim that'll keep the sun out. It's not so much of a brim that if it's a windy day that the wind will necessarily pick it up. If it starts raining, you can fold it down sort of like a bucket hat, and this will keep rain from going down the neck. It also has, on days when it's not raining but it's cold and breezy, has ear flaps. This is mostly just heavy duck cotton, but it'll keep the wind off your ears and does a pretty good job of it. This particular one is made in Canada. Has an orange interior, which is nice during hunting season. If your hat comes off and you've got a little extra orange, if you live in a state where most states do have it, they've got blaze orange laws for safety. The only thing about this, well, one thing about this hat, it's not waterproofed. It's heavy cotton and it takes some rain to get it soaked through, but it will soak through. There are waterproof versions of this hat. This comes from a company out of Arkansas. It's called Mollyjogger. This particular one's made in Canada. They offer hats that are mostly wool with old style plaid patterns. They've got a few different things. I'll put a link to it in the description at the bottom. But they do source their product from countries that do not use slave labor, that do not use child labor. Unlike the hats that are offered by, I think Drake was one of them, a couple others were out there, that they had a nice oil cotton, wax cotton hat. Looked nice, it was $40. And when I looked into it, it was made in China. The Chinese are not big supporters of human rights. The Chinese are not big supporters of women's rights. The Chinese are not big supporters of religious rights. In fact, they abuse all those categories. And they use child labor. And as communists, they're really at odds with the West and capitalist countries. So for the most part, if I've got choices, I'll go with a company or a product that is not from China. I do have a Casio watch, and this is made in Thailand. When I buy my shoes, I'll buy shoes made in Indonesia or Vietnam before I'll buy shoes made in China. And then in things like boots, I do have some Chinese boots that I bought years ago. But I've got some boots that are Swiss, military surplus, because in the surplus market, you can find a lot of great outdoor clothing that's still got a lot of life to it at very competitive prices with stuff made in China, but it's usually a little bit higher quality and made a little bit more durable. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to waterproof this hat. I'm going to use Sno Seal, and we're going to get right to it. At first, I was going to use hard wax, and I wrote to Mollyjogger. The founder of Mollyjogger got right back to me within about an hour, and he said that because some of the thread might be a little on the loose side, that rubbing it with firm wax and then heating it up might not be a great idea. He recommended spray-on solution, maybe something like Scotchgard. What I'm going to use is soft, nice soft Sno Seal. I'll put it on, I'll heat it, I'll let it dry for a day, and I'll give you a after shot as to what it looks like. This is going to darken up considerably. It'll go from a nice medium tan to a pretty dark brown. That's fine with me. This is going to be, like I said, one of my go-to outdoors hats. Cool weather, wet weather. And we're going to go up right now. So here we go. As I did say earlier, I try to avoid things made in China. Sometimes I get gifted things that are made in China. And the heat gun that I'm using to heat up the cloth before we put the Sno Seal on, from South Carolina, it is made in China. Sometimes you can't avoid it. That's what's happened over the last 30 years or so here in the United States. A lot of our manufacturing has been farmed overseas. So just get a rag. I'm using a piece of a sock, and I'm going to dab this. This is mostly promoted as a leather protection, but it's wax. It's mostly beeswax, and it will also work with the cloth too. So you heat up an area. They recommend with Sno Seal that you heat whatever you're putting the wax on prior to putting it on, rather than putting it on and then just heating it up. This way it sort of goes on more easily and you can heat it up a little bit more. So I'm going to do about 1/3 of the hat here. Warm to the touch. And then you just take this and we gently apply it. And this is a little bit goes pretty far. It's not changing the color yet, but after the second heating, when this soaks in some, it'll change it. I'm going to do the outer part of the brim. That's the area that is going to get wet when it's raining, whether it's turned up or down. The inner part of the brim I'm going to leave alone. And you just go along, kind of hit it like this. At the end, after it's been done and allowed to sit for a day, we will do the water test and see if the water runs off it like water running off the back of a proverbial duck. Typically, Sno Seal does a really good job on most anything I've used it on. Do recommend that product. You can also use, like I said, if this didn't have threads that were a bit on the touchy side, I would use bar wax that I got from Varusteleka in Finland. It does a great job. I've done a couple of baseball caps with that, and soaks in nicely, melts to the point where it's totally invisible, and this will be invisible too. So this is a start. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest, not make you watch the whole thing. And when I'm done with it, I'm going to hit it with the heat and we'll look at it then. Okay, well, several minutes have gone by and we've gotten a pretty even coat. The instructions on Sno Seal say to heat your leather or your clothing, whatever you're waterproofing, up to about 120 degrees. So I was using a heat gun. You could use a hairdryer. Just don't get it too hot. It's apparently 120 is a good temperature to open the pores and things like leather and let the waterproofing soak in, not run off. As you can see though, the color of the hat has darkened pretty even. So this would be in like a bucket hat configuration. Fold back that brim, and you can see on the inside I did not do that because I'm not expecting to get wet from underneath, only from outside. And there's your typical Jones cap configuration, now waterproofed. By the way, I didn't mention that this was a special deal from Mollyjogger. If you wear a size XL, which I do, and when my hair is a little bit longer, it fits well, even with the ear flaps folded down. This would normally be a $50 hat, and they are closing them out at $14.99 or $95, and $5 shipping. So for $20, this hat arrived at my house, half the price of the Chinese-made waxed cotton hat. Did the job myself. I'm sure that it's a good job because I've been using Sno Seal for 25 plus years, maybe 30 plus years. Look in the description. You'll see the description for Mollyjogger. You'll see the description link to Sno Seal. If you like the video, please hit like. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave those. I try to answer them all as I get to them. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribing. I'm going to be doing more videos as the season goes on with more things related to outdoor sports. We're going to be doing some shooting videos. We're going to do a couple more gun videos. And here's the testing after. Doesn't soak in at all. Pretty much runs right off.